Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on PMS to all the participants. Good to have you over here, and I hope all of you and your family are safe and healthy. My name is Naresh Tejwani. I'm Director of Satco Capital Markets Limited and also member of the Investment Committee. Satco PMS has been in existence for over 10 years. This is the 10th year. And we have seen some phenomenal growth in the investments and in the returns of the clients. We have in all years outperformed the benchmark, which is the S&P 500. So we have done phenomenally well. And this has been a stellar run for Satco PMS and its clients. We are also ranked in the top few funds, PMS funds, by the PMS Bazaar. In the multi-cap segment, we are among the top few PMSs. And that has been a consistent record. So we are happy today to once again engage with you. We have been having several webinars with you in the past. And today we have a new addition. We have Mr. Kaushik Dani, who is the fund manager of the Growth and Momentum and True Blue. A brief about Mr. Kaushik Dani. Let me give you a brief about him. Mr. Kaushik has over 23 years of experience in Indian capital markets in the area of fund management, equity research, and portfolio management. He has been a portfolio manager responsible for managing various discretionary strategies, mid-cap PMS strategy that have had good track record of performing the benchmark index over long periods. He has worked with a mutual fund like Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund, Peerless Mutual Fund. At Peerless Mutual Fund, he was the key equity fund manager and also headed equities. He has done his MBA in finance from Canadian School of Management and graduation from Mumbai University. His previous engagements have been with Reliance Wealth Management, Carvey, Peerless Mutual Fund, Birla Sun Life AMC, Sharekhan, KR Choksi, SocGen Asia Securities, Motilal Oswal Securities Limited. So friends, we have a very experienced person at the helm of affairs at Satco PMS. And we have seen some stellar returns over the last 10 years. And I'm sure we'll continue the professional approach that we have adopted over so many years with the new team that we have at Satco PMS. Today's webinar will basically cover two things. Of course, growth and momentum is our flagship strategy. We will cover growth and momentum, give you a brief about what growth and momentum has been doing. Thereafter, Kaushik will also give you his views on the market and what he feels the market will be. And at the end of it, we'll have question answer sessions. And of course, I request all of you to type in your questions. At the end of the session, at the end of the presentation, those questions will be put to Mr. Kaushik. And of course, he'll answer to the best of his capabilities. So there you are. Welcome, Kaushik. Please take it away.
Thank you, Naresh ji. Thank you for your kind words and a nice introduction. So at the outset, let me express my gratitude to all of you, those who have joined for this webinar. Satco PMS over the decade has built a solid foundation in terms of values, in terms of investor trust. So definitely, I'm honored to be part of this organization. What I feel is Indian markets are expected to be buoyant and dynamic for the coming decade. And with that in mind, I definitely am looking forward for this journey. As Naresh ji mentioned, we at Satco actually have got an impeccable track record of 25% plus sort of CAGR returns. That is a little over 9.5 years. Now, this is something which very few fund houses can, boast of. This is definitely far superior than the 15% CAGR returns that a broad-based benchmark index like Nifty 500 has generated over the same period. So it means, like, let's say if you have invested 1 lakh rupees in 2012, it's now worth more than 8 lakhs today. Which also means, in other words, that investments have roughly doubled every 3 years, and that too in a consistent manner. Now, not only does this tell us about the power of equity per se, And when I say power of equity as an asset class, that means versus other asset classes, whether it is debt or fixed income, whether it is gold, or for that matter, whether it is even real estate. So that shows the power of the equity asset class. But SATCO PMS also shows the superiority of itself within equities over other peers and over the broad-based indices per se. That's a very powerful thing which is happening. So with this, let me give you a brief about our flagship strategy, growth and momentum. Definitely we would go into the things about growth and momentum, but it's very important for the investors to know what is the thought process. Typically, whenever a fund manager thinks about a particular strategy, the way he acts, I think thought process or the investment philosophy of any particular strategy has to be known. So the interests of the strategy or the manager and that of the investors remain aligned. So people actually talk about many different styles. See, investment styles can be value investing. Some of them prefer growth investing. Some actually want a contrarian style, and some want secular style. So there are various sorts of investment styles, which people prefer to have it while constructing the portfolio. What we prefer and what we actually believe is, rather than getting fixated just to any one particular style, it only hindrances the flexibility in the portfolio construction process. For example, if I'm a pure value investor, then typically what will happen, I would not be able to take any growth stocks and vice versa. So rather than doing anything like that, what we believe is one should never get fixated to a particular style per se. But saying that, what we firmly believe that India is more of a growth story. Now, there definitely would be some value of pockets, where basically we can say, okay, fine, this particular sector, there's a lot of value and all those things are there. But ultimately, what drives our economy is growth. Okay. And if we just couple that with momentum, then basically it gives us the right combination for a superlative performance. So with this particular intent in mind, we have created this growth and momentum strategy. We also believe that, see, for that matter, why do FIIs come into Indian markets? Or for that matter, it is the double-digit growth which attracts the investors. Now, be it a nominal GDP growth of India, which will attract foreign investors, or be it a domestic corporate growth, which attracts all sorts of investors. So it's ultimately the growth which is, important, at least for us. Only when the growth is higher, one has to remember a particular thing, that the growth has to be secular. It has to be sustainable, because only when a growth is secular and sustainable, the valuation sustain. So idea is not to buy growth at any particular price, but also at the same time not to be bogged down by the high valuations, especially if the growth is far higher. So in other words, one has to focus on something what we call as PEG, or the PEG ratio. Now, what is PEG ratio? PEG ratio is nothing but your price earnings to your future growth. An ideal approach would be if your PEG ratio is on the lower side, or for that matter, if your growth is higher than what the valuations are. So some people also term it as a GARP approach, or growth at reasonable price. So that can be done, in a top-down as well as bottom-up approach. So that's what one needs to keep in mind. See, actually, if one wants to discuss in simple terms, how do generated or how you generate wealth, it is either because of the growth in earnings, or either it is because of re-rating of the valuations. Now, if the company which you have bought, if the earnings growth, is pretty good, and the company continues to earn a higher amount of profits year after year, so the growth in earnings typically is one way. Second way is your valuations get re-rated because of several external as well as internal factors. So the combination of that, actually gives you multi-bagger returns. Now, even if one of the factors actually just work for you, then also the price would go up, but price would go up gradually. But if both of them work at the same time, then typically what you generate is a great amount of wealth, and that is actually wealth creation. So over the years, what we have seen is, after doing a lot of research and analysis, the strategy also believes the same thing, that we would want to identify companies where the earnings of these companies, grow by more than 20%. Let's say over a period of 4 years. So if any company compounds its earnings by, let's say, more than 20% over 4 years, that means your profits would double every 4 years. So in this particular way, even if the valuations remain constant, there's a good chance that your portfolio will double every 4 years. That's the backdrop as to how things work. Now, once again, stock picking is also backed by a methodology of screening the stocks. So how do we screen the stocks? I think, of course, the first parameter is growth, but over and above growth, there are also several other parameters which needs to be kept in mind. One is how the operating metrics is. So are the EBITDA margins improving quarter after quarter or year after year? What is the sector scenario? What sort of free cash the company is developing? I think a very famous quote is there. Someone has quoted that actually profits could be optical in nature, but cash is real. So what it means that sometimes you can even manipulate what your earnings can be, but you can never manipulate what the cash the company is generating. So it's also very important to see how much free cash the company is generating. One has to see the return ratios. One has to see the leverage. We give a lot of importance to an adequate leverage. It need not be a debt-free company, but at the same time, the leverage has to be on the lower side. How is the working capital being managed? And finally, most importantly, how are the valuations? As I said in the beginning, it need not be that valuations are pretty low, but at the same time, it should not be exorbitant. The fact should remain that your earnings has to be sustainable and it has to compound at a rate which is far higher than the valuations. So these are certain things that one needs to keep in mind. So if you see the sort of the portfolio that we have created, our portfolio includes some evergreen performing sectors like financials, IT, healthcare. We also have some niche themes. For example, some companies where wealth is created on account of some corporate action, like demerger or acquisition. So such sort of theme is also used in our portfolio. Then there's a theme where, let's say, companies which could get benefited by some policy momentum, whether it is Make in India or whether it is some change in a larger policy. So such stocks are also carefully chosen in the portfolio. What I'm trying to drive is that thus we have got a good mix of consistent performance and also some tactical bets. Thereby, it gives a desired stability to the portfolio. At the same time, it tries to give you alpha to the portfolio. And so keeping this in mind, the portfolio has been generated. Yes. Now, when we talk about returns, I think many times, and especially in bull markets, people ignore the risk aspect. Before going into the risk aspect, I think I really would want to mention that risk management actually is much more important than returns management also, because managing risk ultimately contributes hugely to the overall returns. So that's why I would always urge all the investors to focus on the superior or higher risk adjusted returns rather than pure returns. Now, why? See, for example, if we achieve high returns, especially in a bull run, if we achieve high returns, we also might be tempted to take a higher amount of risk. And if those high returns are coming by high risk, which if someone wants to understand, then one can definitely use parameters like standard deviation or for that matter volatility in ratios like Sortino. There are various ways as to understand whether the risk taken is higher or not. But the point is, if we achieve these high returns by taking higher risk, then there's a good chance that those returns might not be sustainable on a long-term basis. So it's always better to have a higher or a superior risk-adjusted returns. The best way to manage risk, according to me, from my years of experience, is that you pick up high-quality, good stocks. High-quality stock picking is probably the best way to mitigate any risk. Coupled with that, if you have a good quality management, especially a management which has got strong moats, strong competitive advantages, all this typically adds up to mitigate the risk. So that's on the risk management side. Obviously, you pick up a stock, you create a portfolio, it needs to be monitored continuously. So you need to see the stocks are invested, what sort of business performances are happening in the stock, how is the sector behaving, is there any change in the sector dynamics, and all those quantitative parameters are also part of the risk management. This also leads to the question that do we just hold on to a stock for a perennial amount of time? No, typically there also would be certain reasons for exiting a particular stock. For example, if there is any fundamental change in the characteristic of the stock, or for some reason the industry fundamentals have changed. There is a change in the business scenario. There is a change in some sector dynamic change. Certain sectors are susceptible to disruption, something like technological obsolescence. There could be various reasons. There could be reasons like the valuations have become too rich, or there could be a normal profit booking reason. For example, I have bought a stock at, let's say, 100 with the expectation that its fair value is 120, and 120 has come. So that also could be a reason, for exiting out of the investments, doing profit booking, and all those things happen. If we actually see through our independent investment committee, we have got a very good investment committee, which Naresh ji mentioned, and he's also part of the investment committee. Actually, I was just saying that together we have got more than 9 decades of many years of experience. So more than 90 years of experience roughly is there in the investment committee. Now, this committee closely looks at all the investments. And frankly speaking, the experience of the investment committee has benefited the PMS immensely over these years. So finally, how has the portfolio been created? So if I want to share with you the characteristics, first thing is we decide how many number of stocks are there, in terms of characteristics. So we believe that a portfolio has to be compact and concentrated, because my experiences in mutual funds as well as in other PMSs over the years has seen that, if you have too big a list, then typically the tail doesn't add value to the portfolio. In fact, it only deteriorates the incremental earnings. And at the same time, if your portfolio is too small, because you would have seen over the years portfolios which are just 3 stock portfolio or 5 stock portfolio, or even for that matter 10 stock portfolio, which are too small, then your concentration risk, or let's say per stock risk, increases dramatically. So the room for error is hardly there. So what we believe is, let's have a compact portfolio, a concentrated portfolio with a maximum of around 20-25 stocks. And that's what we hold. For example, currently we hold 22 stocks in our portfolio. Obviously, they are fundamentally chosen. The selection is done on the basis of internal research. We definitely have a lot of external research coming to us. But as I said, our investment committee already has, so much of experience. At the same time, I have got more than 2 decades of experience, and based on our experience and expertise, we do our in-house research, we do our in-house modeling, and ultimately, we try to pick up the stocks as to what we deem fit. Because they are fundamentally chosen, the churn rate is always on the lower side. Investment horizon ideally is 1 year to 3 years. But as I mentioned, some of the reasons as to why the time period can be elongated or shortened, if there is any change in the basic fundamentals. So in our portfolio, if you see, because of the characteristics and the parameters that I just shared about, we have got definitely a lot of winners. If you see to the portfolio, means stocks like Deepak Nitrate, Gujarat Gas, Vaibhav typically, Bajaj Finserv, all the stocks actually have been multi-baggers for us. Even recent entrants like Mastech, JB Chemicals, Tricoat actually have given us handsome returns. Of course, each and every portfolio will also have some underperformers. So stocks like Bharti, HCL Tech, they probably have not performed as someone's liking. But this is the key thing about portfolio. Okay, typically, if 8 out of 10 stocks performing well, and 2, even if they remain subdued, your strike rate is so good that typically it would outperform the benchmarks by a big margin. For any investor, I think the key is in seeing the portfolio returns rather than the stock returns, because it has always been acknowledged globally that typically when you want to make returns, stock picking is only 20% contributor, to the overall returns. It's the asset allocation which gives almost 80% contribution to what your portfolio or what your strategy makes. That's why it's very, very important to have the right asset allocation or the right equity allocation within the portfolio. And that's why we focus always on the portfolio returns rather than individual stock returns. So how do our returns stack up? So if you see, and as you can see on the chart in front of the screen, we have been one of the most consistent performers, beating the benchmarks on a very consistent basis over almost 9 to 10 years. Even if I see till the month end, in the month of June, we were up by 15%, whereas the benchmark was up by 9%. On a quarterly and half yearly as well as on a yearly basis, we were up by 75%. So it's not only that when we speak about long term, only on long run we are able to generate consistency, but over even shorter periods like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, typically we have comfortably bet the benchmark index, which is Nifty 500, by a big margin. So if you see actually our absolute returns since 2012, as I mentioned earlier, has been a staggering 756%. Now this translates into 25.8% CAGR returns, over last 9.5 years. So actually it's an outperformance of almost 11% or 1100 bips if one sees over last 10 years. In fact, this actually has been continued further because today we are on 23rd July, and if I just see month to date returns, that is July 1st till date, if I just exclude today's and even till yesterday, we have been up by more than 3%, beating the benchmark by almost 2% basis points. Frankly speaking, these are just strategy returns. At individual portfolio level, the returns would have been higher also, as some investors are sitting on cash, which actually could just suppress the overall strategy returns. So what I'm driving is that the performance continues as smoothly even in the current month. So as I said, the philosophy of growth and momentum is broadly how to create long-term value on a sustainable basis and generate wealth for the long-term investors. So that's broadly what I wanted to showcase about the growth and momentum strategy. So that culminates part one, of my presentation. Now I think I'm sure everyone would be interested in knowing about what the markets are, what do you feel about the markets, So let's first discuss what would be the various triggers for the markets. Frankly, for markets, triggers could be global, triggers could be local, or it could be both, So global reasons, I think the foremost, which is right on the face of everyone, is US Fed trying to taper the stimulus. Interest rates, and obviously based on their inflation and growth, they all go hand in hand. So that has been one big global reason. Apart from that, how the crude is behaving and how the dollar will move also is something which globally as well as in India, everyone is monitoring. Local factors, how the monsoon is shaping up. More importantly, how the quarterly earning season, which I think most of them have got over expectations, because roughly everyone is aware that last year same time, June 2020, it was the first wave, and typically all the corporates give very low numbers. So this time all the numbers that are coming are on a low base. So whether companies will overachieve in the quarterly corporate results or will underachieve, that's something which one has to keenly see. And of course valuations, because valuations frankly are not too cheap, but because of the roller effect, now they don't seem too costly either. And there's one particular factor which one can be clubbed in both global as well as local reasons, and that is COVID. So first, let us see what is happening on the COVID front. Okay, a COVID update. But before that, what I wanted to share with you is, based on my discussion with several people, many of the investors actually have felt left out. And they actually panicked and even exited the markets when they heard about the COVID pandemic. So basically in India, but globally also this thing happened. So what is happening is, of late, there is a fear of third wave that could strike. If you look at the COVID statistics, actually, especially for India, I think in past couple of weeks, maybe I think 3 weeks, the cases have been around 40,000, out of which almost 60% of the cases are from Karnataka and Maharashtra. They account for 60% of the total cases. And now what is happening is there's a Delta variant and there's a Delta Plus variant that has caused panic, especially in many countries like Indonesia, South Africa, where they have been witnessing a spike. But thankfully, some of the other countries, I think it is still in a controlled fashion. As far as India is concerned, almost 40 crore plus vaccinations have been done till last week, 40.64 crores to be precise. And it's estimated that around 37% of the 18 plus age population have been vaccinated with at least one dose, and 9% has been vaccinated with two doses. That's why we are seeing, some sort of numbers in this fashion. But frankly, the conclusion is one needs to have much more number of people to be vaccinated, so as to be less fearful of a third wave. That is what one can think of. That's on the COVID side. See, basically events like COVID, all this, they come once in a lifetime. But if one wants to make longer term wealth creation, it's also pertinent to look at some of the other questions. So some of the questions which I have been facing from investor on a regular basis is, one is, is this actually really a bull market, or it is just a temporary bounce back, or because the markets have moved up so fast, is it a bubble or not? Or for that matter, how long will the bull market last? So if one looks at all this, I think the first thing that one needs to see is the valuations. It's very important for us to understand what are the valuations. So if you see Sensex, based on our in-house estimates, we believe that the trailing multiples are around 30 to 33 times. For Nifty also, it's around 30-31 times. Price to book is around 4.5 times. Now the good part is, even for India GDP, we are expecting 9 to 10% sort of growth rate in GDP. As far as the corporates are concerned, because of the low base, 30 to 35% sort of corporate earnings growth could come, especially for Sensex companies, followed by 20% growth rate in the year FY23. So if you see on a forward basis or a 1 year forward basis, valuations are at 20 times are not that bad. And the PEG ratio, which I was mentioning earlier, is a little bit below 1 time. So definitely with the rollover of earnings, one thing is for sure, that the valuations actually have come back to a little bit of respect zone, although they are not at all cheap. But it only gives you some sort of headroom to further have a rally, to have strength in the rally. Now, this is a very important point that one should keep in mind. So even if you roll over the valuations for the earnings for FY23, still the index has got a potential to generate a double-digit sort of growth. Now, once again, this is on the index front. Now, if we see this from a portfolio point of view, so it is pretty obvious that we would create a portfolio where the strength in terms of return ratios, the strength in terms of fundamentals is far higher than those of index stocks. At the same time, the growth and valuations would be captured in a better way. So the bottom line is, I think the rally is here to be there. Of course, I won't be surprised for any 5 to 10% corrections. And frankly, no one enters in a market, and I think it's high time that people understand that the way we try to be in part of any asset class, with a medium to long-term view, one has to stay in equities also with a long-term view, because that's only how the wealth creation happens. That's only how the compounding of your returns happen. So what is looking costly today will look cheap tomorrow, provided there is sustainability in the earnings. So because in PMS we create such a portfolio, so that's why on a long-term basis, whatever stocks that we like become very attractive. And that's why one can continue to see growth there. So that's broadly what I wanted to say on the valuations front. I think there is some sort of upside still left. And if the time correction, which can happen at any point of time, frankly, no one in the market is a good timer. Actually speaking, timing the markets is a very futile game. One should not try to time the markets. Instead, focus more on fundamentals. And that's the best way to generate wealth. I remember I had done some analysis a couple of years back, which showed that out of 365 days, or for that matter, 200 trading days, actually, more than 60% of the days, the stock basically trades in the same range. It does nothing. But there would be only some 10 or 15 trading days, which actually gives you the returns for the entire year. So the point is, if you try to get in, get out every now and then, you are not going to make money. You're going to end up losing money because you are not aware which 6 days or which 10 days out of those 365 days, the stock is actually going to create wealth for you for the entire year. So what I mean to say is, it's futile trying to time the markets or time the stocks. Instead, just be focused on fundamentally good quality stocks. One more thing which I was recently studying was, if we see the bull runs in the past, like what we saw during Harshad Mehta days, that is in 92, and what we saw in 2000, and various other small bull runs. And what we have seen, let's say, in this COVID era from 24th March 2020 till date, I think the sort of return generation is there. Still, it has not picked out. Also, the culminating P is still not where we are currently. So this also gives us some hope. Okay, fine. Typically over next few quarters, actually market has to move further. Frankly, I'm not a quarterly guy, and I would love to tell you, as I just began during the conversation, is that what I personally believe is we are in this decade where typically equities will gain a lot of prominence, because the way rates are going. In fact, there's a dichotomy, there's a negative divergence between what the inflation is, what the rates are, what the other asset classes are generating. So it's like a FOMO sort of situation, and there's a fear of missing out, and there's a TINA factor. There is no other alternative. Very frankly, with the sort of penetration equities as an asset class is there in India, if you notice in past few quarters, or for that matter past year, it is the non-institutional segment which is driving the markets, and that is there to stay. Only thing is, sustainable money has to come slowly and steadily into the system. So if one has an outlook of 3 to 5 years, frankly speaking, nothing good like this particular time. One have to ignore 5-10% sort of corrections which can come at any point of time. But as long as you are not withdrawing in that 5% correction, it doesn't matter, because ultimately it has to go higher. For that matter, any corrections can be used as an opportunity to do top up investments. That is the sort of philosophy I adhere to. Of course, when I said about local reasons, definitely one should look at something like how the monsoons are behaving. Thankfully, monsoons again are expected to be normal this year. Mind you, let me tell you that in last 10-12 days, monsoons was a little bit on the lower side. But with the sort of scenario IMDs is suggesting, August and September once again should be very good, and July already, I think they've started recouping. So monsoons are expected to be good, and which is very, very important, because ultimately a normal monsoon means it's good for rural India. It does not only boost the agri sectors. Sometimes people ask me, okay, fine, monsoons are normal, so what? It is only good for agrochemicals or only for tractors. But one has to understand, it also pushes all the consumption oriented sectors. And the ratio of rural urban has changed drastically in last 10 years. So good normal monsoons is like a positive for us. And we should actually now, I think, focus more in the near term on how the quarterly earnings season is behaving. As I said, the quarterly earnings season, typically we all were expecting that. In fact, it's broadly known that last year was a low base. So obviously there would be a sharp recovery for all of them. But in the near term, what you can see is financials will show some sort of higher slippages, but that has been broadly factored by the markets. IT should continue to remain strong, and the way people are moving towards technology and how corporates are moving towards cloud and other systems, I think IT will continue to gain prominence. Some of the IT results that have come, few of the mid-cap IT stocks which are there in our portfolio, they have also come out with strong numbers. They have come out with good guidances. So it remains well. Among the other manufacturing companies, I think one visible sign that one can see for the quarterlies is that the input costs, if you see, recently have risen. So the commodity prices, have been on the uptrend. This definitely will put pressure on the users of these commodities, and that's why you will see many of the companies operating margins getting squeezed. So that's one thing one will have to keep in mind. Apart from that, I think quarterlies should go in the direction which is anticipated. So to summarize, the outlook for the market continues to remain stable, whether it is on the macro side, whether it is on the fundamental side. Of course, the risks would there with regards to US Fed tapering the stimulus, the risk would there with how the crude behaves. Suddenly, if crude goes above $80-$100, then once again, people would start getting concerned about the fiscal deficit and import bill, and all those things are there. But once again, there are many other factors which are going to negate theory to that also. So all in all, yes, on the global side, one has to keep a track of what is happening in US, how the dollar and how the crude are moving. And on the local side, I think let's see how the quarterly is panning out. But once again, all these are all near-term triggers. On a longer-term basis, I think the markets are ready to grow in a very sustainable fashion. We believe that structurally the India story is strong. COVID has been a small blip in the whole story, not only locally but globally also. In fact, it's because of COVID, one will see strong corporate growth rate in FY22 as well as FY23, and then things will normalize. Valuations are there to support us. In such a scenario, stock picking becomes very, very important. And that's why, rather than doing individual stock picking, I think one has to, stick to a right sort of portfolio, which will have good high quality stocks, and they are allocated, or the weights given to them are in a proper fashion. And that's where something like a PMS strategy works for investors. Our endeavor is to create such a portfolio which would out over the long run. So thank you everyone once again for patiently hearing us out. Thank you.